So I've been getting comments on my last few videos, people saying that the mentality stuff is resonating and the belief video and the discipline video is hitting them right where it's supposed to be. And I really do appreciate that, genuinely. But here's the thing. I keep on seeing the same follow-up in the comments and my DMs. People are saying, I get it, I believe in myself, I've got the discipline, but I'm still not moving, I'm still stuck. And I know exactly what it is. I've lived in that place for a while, and nobody has ever told me the name of what that specific place is. So I'm going to give you a name. It's called the execution gap, and it's the space between knowing what to do and actually doing it consistently. And I say around 70% of people who are trying to build something that is monumental within their life live within this sort of purgatory, and they're not in doubt. It's not laziness, not doubt. They're in this sort of gap. So let me explain to you exactly why it happens. So one thing about the execution gap is that makes it so hard to diagnose is that it feels productive. Like you're watching the right content, you're consuming the right information, you're building that belief that you know it's going to work. But in those moments, you still waste time, despite that you're building the belief and the discipline, because your brain feels like you're progressing, because you're engaged, learning, and you feel like moving. But what's actually happening is that you're only in learning mode. And learning mode and execution mode are two completely different states. And most people, and I was one of those for a while, never ever switch off. Learning mode is comfortable, it's low risk. You can be in a learning mode and feel productive and have nothing to show for it. I say around maybe 80% of people who watch videos like this one, no offense because I'm the same, are in learning mode. They're building knowledge, building frameworks, building ideas, but they're not building the thing itself. And the gap between the two is the execution gap. And it's not closed by getting more information. It's just closed by shipping something. There's a quote that I take from a very famous entrepreneur. Everyone knows him, named Andrew Tate. There's a famous, not famous, but there's a quote that I take to heart, which is his number one business rule is speed. Speed is everything. And he used the example of a plane that if you turned off the jet engines of a plane, it would still be moving because it has momentum. And that is what you need within your life. When you do something, it's sort of like you need to have this sort of momentum that you will still be streamlining that plane no matter what. And you need to keep on going and moving forward because speed is everything. If you have speed, it can negate everything else. Even it can sometimes even negate quality itself. Let's say if you're sending 100 messages to business owners and you're doing it at I don't know, like once a day, but the other person who's sending around 1,000 a day, just sending as many channels as possible, even if the quality is still bad, one of them's going to hit, and I guarantee you it's going to hit faster than the person who sends 100, simply because of the speed that they're going at. And that's what you need to understand. But let me step back. You know how in the last video I was talking about identity and how the question changes from do I feel like it to this is who I am. And that same principle applies here, but in a different direction. Because a lot of people who are stuck in the execution gap are still identifying as someone who's building and not someone who builds itself. And those are two completely different things. One is a future identity and one is a present identity. For example, saying something like I'm someone who's learning how to run an agency, or versus I'm an agency operator. Those are two completely different things. And the second will require you to believe and behave like it right now and today, even before the results show up. And most people aren't willing to claim the identity before they have proof. And here's what I've learned. That proof comes after the identity claim and not before. And you must make this change right now, or else you're going to waste a fuck ton of time just trying to find where you're going to start feeling like it's okay. And the proof comes after the identity. And you don't want to feel like an operator to act like one. You act like one until you feel like one. And now that I'm thinking about it, actually, this is exactly how I got my first client. I was already acting like I ran an agency before any client had ever paid me. And that energy was part of what made me take it seriously. So a backstory about me is that before I officially started my agency, I was a solo contractor, and I started working with this one semi big guy in the space. I don't want to say his name because we didn't really end on good terms. But I was like 15 when I landed this client, and I had him for around 3 to 4 months. And the main component was that I didn't know anything about business. I literally told him, I'm going to get you clients. I didn't know jack shit about how to get clients, and I didn't even know the basics. So while I had him as a client, I was researching everything about email lists and how to get more clients for him, etc. I was going every single vector in any way, shape, or form to get the clients. It's all because I had the identity belief that I'm the person who can get results. Not exactly how I was going to get results. I didn't know how. I just knew I had to. And if I had the mindset, I knew I could go far. And this is the blessings of being a young person, is that you truly believe you can do anything within this world. People who are, above me, 18, 19, 20, even older, actually mostly older, 21, 22, and so on and so forth, they have bills to pay, they have their pensions, blah blah, or excuse me, they have many other things that they have to worry about. But when you live under, your parents' roof, you really don't have to worry about much. And truth be told, you just take risks. And this is the exact time where you're supposed to be taking risks, which is just believing that you can do it. You must have the identity of believing it. And this one's sneaky because I can guarantee you it's operating in most people who think that they're being responsible. It sounds like I'll send that outreach offer once I'll send that outreach once my offers tighten up, or I'll post that video once my setup looks better. Like, look at me. I don't care about my setup. Uh I have clothes hanging out of my drawers. Excuse me. I have my bed's not made. I barely made an effort to get ready. The only thing I did was turn on my light. That's it. I didn't wait for the perfect moment. It's 9 a.m. in the morning when I'm recording this. I woke up at 5 a.m. as usual, and I just got straight to, after I finished my work for the day, I got straight to recording, And it's all to say that you're never going to feel the right moment, and you just need to start. Because when you start to think, oh, let me prepare for this, it makes it feel like you're being thoughtful, but in practice, you're just using fear to dress it up as logic. I talked about this briefly in the last video, but I want to go deeper on it here because I think it's the most practical fix. Because most people who are stuck in this gap don't have a specific daily target. They have a goal, for example, like close my first client, or grow my channel, or build my agency. That's junk. But they don't have a specific thing that counts as done for today. And here's why it matters. When you don't have a specific target, you default to your feelings, and you work when you feel motivated, and you stop when you don't, and you define a good day based on how the work happened rather than what was actually produced. And that's the learning mode operating system. The execution mode operating system is completely different. It says, today I send 20 messages, not 19, not 20 if I feel good about it. Send 20, and the day is done when the number is hit, not when you feel like you've done it before, or done enough, excuse me. And the reason this works is because it removes the feeling from the equation entirely. Feelings are unreliable, but numbers are not. You either hit 20 or you didn't, and there's no gray area. There's no, I did a lot today. There's no way to trick yourself. And that consistency that comes from that, having that number, even that small number, 20 DMs, is compounds and into something real, into something over that you can see from 30, 60, 90 days. Point being is that the target is what makes the execution repeatable. And without it, you're just hoping to feel like you need to work every single day. And spoiler alert, you won't. So look, here's where I am and where I'm all about this. I'm not on the other side of the execution gap, if I'm being honest. I'm still in it on some sort of things, and there's still some areas where I know, what to do, so I'm not at the frequency that I should be. But the difference from 6 months ago compared to me, let's say, what was it, November 2025 Imran, is completely different to what is right now, April 20th, 2026, 9 a.m. Imran. And reason being is that I can see where I'm in the learning mode and when I need to switch, and I can see what preparation is instead of just disguising as fear. And I see when I don't have a target, and that's why nothing is moving. At the end of the day, the execution gap is not a motivation problem. It's not a discipline problem. It's not a belief problem. It's a switching problem. And you need to actively switch it from learning mode to execution mode. And the switch happens when you claim the identity, ship before you're ready, and just set a number that you want to hit. So if you feel like this helped, subscribe, because I post this stuff about daily now, things that I'm doing every single day. These sort of sit down videos because they're super easy to record, just off the cuff, just getting started. And point being is that in the next video, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. Maybe I'll talk about something that, based on the comments, if there's any good comments or I get any DMs related to this. So stay safe, learn something new under the will of God, and take care now. Have a good rest of your day.